last a lifetime. This moment is brought to you by National Cream Crackers.
Talk Up Yout is powered by National Baking Company in association with Cranwatha, a Stanley and Empress production, giving the youth a voice.
Talk Up Yout.
So we come to know these youths and show these youths. Talk up yourself, the youths to know them roots. Nurture them, protect and love and hear these youths. Music make them know I love we show these youths.
Make them save the youth, not kill the youth. I build we come for build the youth.
Talk Up Yout encourages all youth to find tangible solutions for their issues. Are you ready for today's show? Today's topic is
I build we come for build the youth. Youths in action, Jamaica. We are
Build the youths there.
Talk Up Youth in Jamaica.
Today, our youths will cover the entire range of child abuses, from human trafficking to extreme discipline, from internet shaming to emotional distress. Listen up.
We have to build the youths there.
Talk Up Youth in Jamaica.
There are many issues that arise from child abuse. My issues are low self-esteem, bullying, and isolation. Now, when a child is being abused, there are certain things that goes wrong. You might become abusive because you want to find acceptance, or your self-esteem may lower because of the abuse that you're accustomed to.
If you tell a child that she's no good, she will eventually grow to believe that she's no good. If you're going to discipline your child, what do you consider to be discipline? You need to communicate more with your children. You need to try to foster a relationship with them. What are you're trying to abuse your children and you're telling them they're no good, making them believe that they're crooks or whatever, and they grow to believe, and that is called verbal abuse, and we can't really do that, and it's wrong.
Shamanika, I totally agree with you. My issue with child abuse is breakdown in the family home. So for example, if you're in a home where it's abusive or there's unemployment issues, alcohol and drug abuse, then more likely that child will be susceptible to abuse. And a lot of the times, these are persons in authoritative position or who has some serious earning power, and the child is afraid to report it.
Me live with my mother, and every day she give me some Papa Jesus lick. Me I tell you say. But I can't report her. You're mad? Who I gonna provide for me? When me report my mother now, who I gonna provide my basic needs and my wants? Who I gonna provide that? My issue with child abuse is, why are so much cases of child abuse unreported? Sexual abuse is a main thing under the topic child abuse. Many children are sexually abused. Many of them don't report it because of the stigma that is attached to rape. When a girl get raped, why she gotta tell somebody say she get raped? She gotta just keep it to herself. She gotta keep the pain inside. If a boy is raped, definitely he won't, because the stigma attached to homosexuality and attached to rape, so he's coincide with two difficult stigma attached to the activity that is done to him.
When a child is abused, they either become withdrawn, some of them become confused and commit suicide, others find the way to actually speak out and get some assistance or some counseling. Well, I was abused as a child, and I had to just keep it. And I had to look it in the face day by day because it was a close family member actually. So the whole thing is that perverts prey on the weak and young just to feast themselves upon them, and it's really unfair and inhumane. But at the end of the day, as long as they lift their head up like myself, they can always, pass the storm with a smile.
My personal experience with child abuse started when I was 8 years old. I was sent to live with another family member here in Kingston. And I was abused physically, emotionally, mentally. It was just an ongoing thing. And from the abuse, I realized that the type of person I am today is based on it. I don't necessarily want to blame the whole issue of child abuse because you know that things happen and you can move forward from them, but the anger problems and feeling restricted and so forth. It's all derived from the whole thing of being child abused because it starts at an early age, and so it continues with you because it's a permanent scar. So like it's always there, no matter how you try to move forward from it.
Right, so exactly what DeAndre was saying really fuels my issue about taking a village to raise a child. It's a notion that has been put out there by so many individuals in power that it really troubles me because it is these individuals who are abusing this power, this privileged position that they have as parents, guardians, whatever, and abusing children knowing that they will not have the opportunity to speak out about it. Exactly what O'Shane was saying, he couldn't say anything. What Ricardo was saying, that if these are the people that I'm supposed to trust, how can I go to them, the ones who are hurting me, and say to them, you're hurting me? You understand? So this notion has got to change, in my opinion, because as long as the society is dysfunctional in this way, we will never really be able to heal.
After this break, we'll definitely have a conversation.
We have to build the youths there.
From youth in Jamaica.
This is Kevin too Swayze. This is Kevin too lazy. We'll take a break.
Take 3.
First, National Baking Company. Quality Jamaican product. Yo! Cheesy Boats, the picnic, I got love them here. It's like a more popular than hopscotch and video games. Now, this made with real cheese. They like cheddar grenades. It's like somebody set up a cheese war in your mouth.
It's shockingly cheesy.
Cheesy Boats. Energize your taste buds. National Baking Company, made for Jamaicans by Jamaicans.
It's a WOW scholarship. Cranwater, in association with Talk of You, donates 3 $100,000 scholarships to 3 deserving youth to enhance their educational and professional development. Cranwater, supporting youth with WOW scholarships. Water with WOW.
Hello, I'm Shanice Phillips. I'm 17 years of age. And my problem is that many agencies that child abuse, child neglect, and child labor should be reported to have numbers that no one will ever remember. My solution to this problem is have a centralized number. Call 119 for any emergency, and that will save our children.
We have to build the youths there.
From youth in Jamaica.
So to pick up back from what Camilla was saying, she was saying that it doesn't take a village to raise a child. But sometimes I believe that it's a community effort that is needed in order to raise a child effectively, because you can't rely on the abuser to report the abuse. And a lot of the time in the family home, where there are several people in the house, they know that the child is being abused. No one is going to say anything. So the community becomes cognizant. I don't see why it is that they can't report the issue. That's why they have the CDA hotline. That's why they have all of these methods for you to report child abuse.
You have to understand that not everybody is the same. And if we don't reach out for help, then we're not going to get help. You have to go out at some point in time and say, well, listen, I'm not going to take this anymore. So here what, I'm going to report you. You're not necessarily going to go to the police and say, well, my dad's a police and he abused me. He's a police. Him abuse, you're not going to one police. You're going to go to somebody else who you think you can trust and you can talk to. Definitely. So you have to go to somebody in the community or somebody at school or something, somebody you know you can relate to in order to get help.
Why I would report the person that is taking care of me financially and giving me everything that I want. Why I would report this person. When I report this person, who will take care of all these benefits?
But then that just sounds nonsensical, because that means you're saying that you rather to be abused than go and report it. I mean, if you go and report it, I mean, you can still get help financially, mentally, any other holic. So you rather stay abused.
The issue I have with it, the issue I have with the whole village situation is that the statistics really show that it is relatives, friends, uncles, aunties, cousins who tend to do the abuse. So what I'm trying to say is that, but what I'm saying, is that the parent, the person who actually brings the child into the earth, that's their primary responsibility to take care of the child. You understand? Not every parent, but not every parent is abusing the responsibility. A lot of parents, it is because they have left their child with somebody else. You understand? Not all the time, but I'm saying that if our parents would understand that they're the ones who are in charge of their child first, they're the ones who are supposed to ensure that the child's safety is secure first. You understand? And then they can establish those other safe relationships for the child.
But look at it this way. Not every parent knows better better. Exactly. So not every parent is going to do better. So
you see, here's my thing. I agree, but that's the assumption that the parent is always the abuser, and the parent isn't always.
No, we're talking about the family, we're talking about the extended community.
So who's the extended community?
Extended community could be anybody can relate to.
Anybody?
You're not going to go to somebody in the same house you're being abused and say, Mommy abuse me. Them already know say your mother beats you. Them just not going to know about it. So you need to go out and find somebody you know will do something about it. You can't get help if you don't try to get help.
Of course
you have to go outside of the
I think we're all on the same.
Outside of the family at some point in time to get help.
Yeah, but it's not every parent that is equipped with the kind of skills needed to become a good parent, because parenting is also a unique skill that needs to deal with each individual and each child, because I can use a skill of parenting to nurture my child, and if you try that style with your child, it will be different. It might be make that child be indisciplined, because the style that I socialize my child with might be different than the way how you grow your child. So each person needs to find the way and the problems that their child faces, and then find a solution how to deal with the
and that's the point I'm making.
Even with all of that being said and done, the only thing that kind of like ensures that the nation can have better parents is by having better influences, because nothing starts unless it is influence. We have to set a trend in order for it to be followed. So in a sense, we have to just clean up all the negativism. You know, we have to ensure that whatever we practice as adults, because I am a father, I have to ensure that whatever I do, I can do it in front of my daughter, and she can follow that, and I still feel proud of her. So at the end of the day, it's a trend that we all set. As long as I am around her, a look alone should be good enough, because she's young. I don't need to be slapping a baby. She's less than 2 years old. So I do believe that a small thing can become a trend, because one slap will lead to another and then another. But at the end of the day, it's all up to the person's conscience, because suppose they see they were grown to be disciplined by a whole lot of slaps and all that. I was grown to be disciplined, because if my mother and my father did want to slap me, they might give me it anywhere and everywhere. So if it's a board or a belt, it don't really matter, but at the end of the day, it's all what you see.
I believe that children do need positive role models in order to produce a positive outcome. But I do disagree with you when you think that it's okay for people to classify different forms of abuse as just discipline. For example, whipping a child on the back or slapping in the face, it is abuse. We have adopted this type of abuse from our colonizers, the Europeans, and we have replicated it in a different form, which is disciplining our children. And we don't see anything wrong with it, because we have adopted that mentality. It's ingrained in us, and the cycle will not break until someone declares that this is child abuse and it comes to an end.
Our society is majority Christian, and a lot of people like to quote the scripture, spare the rod, spoil the child. So what are you saying, the rod should be more of a figurative rod, like, withholding things that the child will like? Because I know a lot of parents would definitely want to say, boy, me get my beating, and that's why I'm disciplined right now.
Yeah. Well, Camilla, to answer that question, the Bible can be interpreted differently, but I won't get into the religious aspect of it. But what I'm saying is children practice what they see. And if you as a parent whip your child and imitate that type of behavior, they're going to reproduce it. They replicate this behavior, they become abusive, they start to fight, and you wonder why. We have taught them that if someone does something wrong, this is how you treat them. You slap them. So I think spare the rod and spoil the child can have different implications. But once you slap a child and they imitate that behavior and they reproduce the behavior in school, you can't blame them, because this is what they know.
We need to re-socialize our families in terms of teaching them how to discipline our children, because a slap in the face and a whip on the back is definitely abuse. There's no way you can hit a child in the face or a slap on the back and tell you that is not discipline, that is just rubbish, that is wickedness. That is just so wrong.
So I agree that slapping in the face and whipping on the back is definitely obvious abuse. But say a spank on the bottom where it may not hurt as much, it can be done, but I feel like it must be coupled with instruction. Because it is the one-time abuse that really creates the problem to me. Your child does something, you slap them across the face, but you haven't explained what you've done. So say some children, they just take talking better. Don't do that, you shouldn't do that. Okay, that's it. Some children, physical reminder and then explaining to the children. Because when I grew up, when my mom would spank me and my sister, she would talk to us afterwards and she'd say, you know, girls, I don't want to do this. It hurts me to do this. But the reason I had to do this was to make sure that you wouldn't do that again. And we would speak to her and say, boy, mommy, thank you. We appreciate it. Because people do, listen, discipline, proper discipline is a sign of care.
I think that discipline is discipline. And discipline can be done with words because I learned from the art of war that only fools fight. And the only time you fight is when you have victory. And you need to get it by fighting. And I don't think you need to fight your children to get victory over them because you're your parents, you're providing for them.
It's a communal.
Yeah. So I think that you have to just look keenly into your actions.
Persons who are oppressed need somebody to oppress also. So when you oppress your child by hitting him or her, they need somebody who they want to take out this oppression. And when we went through the period of slavery, the slave masters was our oppressors, but we take out this negatively on other slaves and we revolt because we always want our freedom. So it's always a struggle. So when you are oppressed, you always need a form of freedom. So you will turn to negative ways and means in order to get this freedom. So when we oppress our child, they will revolt, they will become negative, they will become dysfunctional beings of this society.
Are you saying that we have a cycle of dysfunctional families coming out of slavery? And why is it so hard to break this cycle? Because if abuse is so rampant in our country, why can't it stop?
Not every child is going to revolt, but we don't know which child is going to revolt, so we need to just stop it. We're not going to leave it up and say, hey, we're going to do this to all child and see which one will revolt.
Which goes back to Sham's point. You need to tell your child what it is that they're being punished for. If it is that you explain to your child why it is that you slapped them or whatever, you don't necessarily, it's not a necessity that the child is going to go to and say, well, my mother didn't say I'm going to kill you back.
Child abuse isn't just beating, it's a whole factor of neglecting a child. That is abuse because if a child is hungry, or if a child needs the protection and all of that, you can't neglect the whole fact that just because beating is actually one of the dominant things, yes, but you still have neglect.
I completely agree. I think what this reveals is that there are so many different forms of abuse. And this was a wonderful discussion because it just opens the door to the many avenues. But stay with us. We'll have our social media talk back, and then after the break, our solutions to this issue.
Jamaica.
I am here for you and you for me. So I will always love you, even through the hard times. If ever you need me, I'll be
Some moments
there.
last a lifetime. This moment is brought to you by National Cream Crackers.
It's a WOW scholarship! Cranwater, in association with Talk of You, donates 3 $100,000 scholarships to 3 deserving youth to enhance their educational and professional development. Cranwater, supporting youth with WOW scholarships. Water with WOW!
We have to build the youth stand.
I compute in Jamaica.
Build the youth stand.
I compute in Jamaica.
We have to build the youth stand.
I compute in Jamaica.
My solution to the issue of child abuse is that the CDA and other agencies need to put in stronger mechanisms in order to tackle the issue of child abuse that we are facing in our country today. We need to put in other measures in place that can protect our child, that can properly protect them and make them feel safe within our society. We need laws and so on in order to protect them from individuals who are abusers.
I also believe that it starts within the home. We need a parental shift to positive parenting instead of negative reinforcement. We also need to ensure that parents are aware of alternative mechanisms for disciplining your child, we also need to retrain these parents because their mindset is set in a time that no longer exists. We need to stop child abuse. The only way to do this is to change the mentality of the society.
I say to anyone that has been abused, whether as a child or even adults who were abused, they need to first get the whole thought of being abused out of their head, because I had trained myself to not, not to let it overtake me in a sense. So I believe that those persons should get involved rather than to be withdrawn, to mentor others and kind of even do self-defense, because if I had known that, I would use that, So they need to get youths aware that they need to protect themselves and protect others.
Thankfully, laws actually do exist in our legislation, the Sexual Offences Act. I believe that legislation needs to be put out there, reaching youth where they are on social media. Let them know the laws that are in place to protect them and the penalties for those who actually perpetrate these laws. Making sure that these Ananda hotlines and those things that were mentioned, the children know the names, they know the numbers by heart, and that can be done by the proper marketing, making it into jingles so kids never forget who they're to call and who they can go to for the help that they need. My solution to physical child abuse, of course, is that parents need to find alternative ways of disciplining their children. Rapport with your child, communicate with your child. That's the only way you can find out what's the problem. But in terms of sexual child abuse, I feel these abusers just need to be on a rope and be hanged. The bliss and the happiness and the joy that will come out of it is just great, because, there's no excuse for abuse, actually. There's no excuse. So you're not going to tell me that, because a child just provocative or because she's wearing too much makeup, let you abuse her. That's just wrong, and you need to be hanged. And that's just it.
We need to teach our children from an earlier age about their rights, and not only teach them that they have a right, but to help them to enforce those rights. Let them know where to go to talk about them and so forth. Even in our recent law, Sexual Offences Act 2011, Part 4 and Part 7, I think, are especially good areas as it pertains to children. Laws to protect against child abuse. Part 4 speaks about the actual acts against children, while Part 7 has established a sex offender register and registry, which means that the government actually has a list now of the child abusers, and their names stay on that list for 10 years, including their addresses, and they have to say something to the lawmakers before they leave or move. The only issue I have with that law is that it's not made public, which is understandable because you need to protect people's right to privacy, but if you violate someone's autonomy, I believe that your privacy is out the door. Definitely. So as far as I'm concerned, it should be published, but at least progress is being made in our laws. Parents need to let their children feel comfortable with coming to them and talking to them about certain issues. In relation to a sex issue, you have a teenage girl, let you feel comfortable talking to you about it. That is, if it's a case where something happens to her, she know that she can come to mommy or she can go to daddy about the issue. Don't let you feel withdrawn and, because you're an adult, I should not come to you and talk to you. Let them feel comfortable talking to you about certain things. If something happens at school, let them know that they can confide in you and talk to you about certain things. And that's where we can really go from there. Earlier I mentioned the fact that the stigmatization of child abuse is something that hinders a child or children from reporting the cases of child abuse that they face. But I am telling you this, the children that are listening out there, I am telling you this, don't afraid for talk. When I say talk up youths, report it, tell somebody, tell a friend, tell the police, tell the CDA, report it to somebody, make them be aware of it. Just talk up youths.
Okay guys, that was a great show. Now it's time for a celebrity interview.
I'm not sure if you hear me properly. The cell phone thing, but hopefully I hear me loud and clear. Check.
This is a show for the youths and by the youth. So what would you like our young generation to learn?
Well, so many things I would want the younger generation to know, but I think if we have to narrow what's the reasoning, is just that them have a lot more influence and impact on them own life. Would imagine, a lot of the things that will come your life, it's up to you, decisions that you make and, the actions that you choose to take,
How important is it for you to talk up, aka let your voice be heard?
Well, them to ask what they want. You know, it's important to talk up because we can't read minds. Well, not yet at least. You know, so in order for, you know, for people to understand, you know, what your concerns are, you know, to understand, you know, what your issues are, then you need to voice them, you know, straight up.
What are some of your keys to success?
Well, I think first of all, I understood that success is relative. So, you know, from day one, my goals have been, my main goal has been to maximize my potential. So, you know, it's understanding that and working at that and understanding that it's, you know, it's a process, you know, I think led me to make the type of decisions that, you know, could develop and result in quote unquote success, you know. So, you know, like working on things that I figured needed work, you know, as opposed to thinking like, oh, you reach already when you don't reach nowhere, you know, them kind of way. So, I've you know, spent a lot of hours working on things that I, you know, I figured needed improvement, and, you know, trying to maximize the potential will force you to, you know, pursue continuous improvement, you know. And I think as the more you do is the better you get, and the better you get is the more likely you are to succeed.
All over the world, children are being abused. How can we all alleviate child abuse?
The matter of child abuse, you know, clearly is one of you know, concern for, you know, all different stakeholders in society, from family level to institutional level, from whether it be church, school, whatever. You know, it is something that we all have to, you know, be mindful of, and, you know, of course, you know, do whatever we can, develop relationships with people you can trust enough to, you know, speak to in relation to what is happening in and around the surroundings. And, you know, if you are in a situation where you are being abused, to, you know, be able to speak to someone about it. And of course, you know, for people who are out of children being abused, you know, do the responsible thing and you know, say something, you know. As parents and guardians and family members or what have you, there's only so much you can do, and so much you can do in terms of, you know, protecting your own. So it really comes as a charge to everyone. Thanks for having me on the program tonight, and I hope I was able to share something that, you know, will mean something to, you know, one of the youths listening or anybody listening. So, you know, give thanks for having me. Assassin, aka Agent Saska, signing out. I'm going to talk up youth, Mr. Talk up youth, you understand? Don't stay mute. Talk up youth.
Talk up youth, Mr. Talk up youth.
We have to build the youth there. Talk up youth in Jamaica.
Talk Up Yout is powered by National Baking Company in association with Crown Water, a Stanley and Empress production, giving the youth a voice.